Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Trade. It's the 8th of the month. It's time to do our monthly market walk, going through all the products on TCG Player, seeing what the supplies look like, what the prices look like, and just talking about it out loud for about an hour. So let's get to it. Set boxes first off, just like always, and I've gone ahead and opened up the tabs to the interesting things. Of course, Brothers War will rotate this September, and it's interesting that the price of the set boxes for Brothers War is already up to $145. And so maybe WotC will surprise us with an 11th hour reprint like they did on Kamigawa late last year and absolutely crash the price right on the eve of it rotating. Or maybe now's a pretty good time to go ahead and put in a position of this. It just depends on whether or not we get an unnecessary surprise reprint right as the product is rotating out. But look at this, 57 boxes in the market today. The math on all of these sell-through rates is going to be pretty obnoxious because we still have the May 16th bonus buck sale in the records to have to subtract out. But yeah, there's about 2 months worth of Brothers War set booster boxes in the market, which basically takes us through rotation. So we'll see if WotC's going to dump another big reprint of this on the market, or if they're just going to let it sell off into the sunset like they should. It's unfortunate what they did to Kamigawa. Wilds of Eldraine, now this is 142, and this has a whole nother year. This does not rotate until September, until September of 2026. So I would definitely expect to see another reprint of this, and we see, well, maybe we just recently got it. I guess this may be what it is. But if it was already up to almost $200 and it still had more than a year of lifetime left, then yeah, this is definitely the sign of a recent reprint on this. But maybe we get some more if it's already up to 140s again and it's got another year to go. What a great product, how popular it has been. Kaldheim, of course, this rotated several years ago, but we're into the 160 territory on the set boxes now. I think I have this up on the monthly sales list for my patrons. I forget what the exact price is. I think it's 2 for $300, something like that. You know, guys, when I put them on the monthly sales list and I do that, you know, you have to buy two. I do the 2 4s. It's because it's a bulky product or it's a bigger product, and just having to ship individual boxes cuts into the margins way too much. That's why I do that. That's why most of the time on collector boxes, you can order just one, but on things like set and draft boxes, yeah, you've got to order at least two to get those deals that I offer on the monthly sales list. But let's see, 53 out there in the market. Nice. And it sold 10 on the bonus buck sale, so 13 otherwise. Several months of supply on the market today, and trust me, there will be more in closets to come out as this continues to rise in price. Modern Horizons 2, how tragic, still $210. Man, this is, wait, this was a 2021 product, which means it became unsupported around late 23. So this has been out of print for almost 2 years, and it's still $210. Has anything happened over the last year? Yeah, look at this. A year ago, the market price was 207, and today the market price is 211. I mean, it's done a little bit of movement around in that time, but golly, how disappointing. Just the way that Modern Horizons 3 crept the power curve and immediately replaced some of the best cards from this set. And then the fact that this came in the 2021 era, printed to oblivion, and it's just taking forever to eat through all the supply in the market. So both of those things put together, this has been a real disappointment for several years now. And Kamigawa, like we were talking, if we go back to the 1 year chart on this one, yes, it peaked up here at 149 in September. Look at this, last week of September. Of course, it rotated. The rotation is like the first week of September, I think. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I think the rotations happened the first week of September for standard. And so right as this rotated out, we got a reprint. And at the same time, everybody put all their boxes that are now rotated up on the market to try to undercut and clear them out. Both of those effects at the same time just wrecked the price, and we're still trying to climb back towards what it was then. Strixhaven, I'd like to just take a look at this because, man, this was very early on in Final Trade's history. This was one of the First few expansions that came out after I started this company. $129 for the set booster boxes. Over the last year, what has it done? Well, it's gone from 104 to 129. It's not bad. 25% increase over the last 12 months. And 109 in the market, and it sold 400 in the last year. So, yeah, roughly 3 months of inventory still in the market today. Forgotten Realms, this is another one I put up on the monthly sales list. Several people ordered it already. I think I have a few boxes left up on the sales list right now. 174, how this has just been going up recently. It's amazing how much it has been rising. And a year ago, this was 102, and today 174. Man, 75% increase in 1 year, if only you know when that's going to happen. You know, we try to collect data, we try to look at trends, but ultimately you never really know when those supplies are going to tighten enough, when enough sellers who are willing to come to market at approximately these prices have already done so. Here we are, 180, 185, and then 190. So yeah, a few more months, we'll be up there looking at $200 on this. I would bet with 7 months still left in the year, I would bet we hit 200 by the end of the year on this. Man. Okay, draft boxes. We'll get into these. Double Masters 2022. Wow, a 3-year-old product finally climbing $350. Again, this was one that just, the printing was so heavy, and the price was elevated, and the attitudes in the market at the time were just awful. It came off the back of Baldur's Gate, which is one of the biggest rug pulls in Magic history. And then it just took forever for this to recover. What was it a year ago? 280. And today it's 350. So yeah, $70. That's a 25% increase in the last year. Man, it's 84 in the market. And in the last month, it has moved about 30. So a few months of supply in the market. We could still easily be under $400 at the end of the year for this product. I could definitely see that. It's just been such a slow appreciator over time. Now, Commander Masters draft boxes, always remember the draft boxes are much better than the set boxes. They are much better engineered and actually have more value. They have a higher EV than the set boxes, which is very rare for that set box draft box period for a draft box to be better, but Baldur's Gate is one of the vanishingly rare sets where that is the case. $139 today. What did we have a year ago? 127. Well, that's not the memory I had. Okay. I was opening tons of these boxes between, golly, summer of 22 and early 24. Couple hundred of these boxes I opened for singles, and man, they were so rich at the time, and the boxes were so cheap because the original print run was so high. And then again, this is the market era of 2022, same time as Double Masters 22. That summer, everyone's attitudes were so bad, and so these boxes just languished, and there were too many, drove the prices down. But man, this set is full of so many amazing cards. We'll be lucky if this gaps to 150 by the end of the year. It's just going to be a slow rise on it. I suspect there are still a ton of boxes around. Forgotten Realms draft boxes 150. Now, like I always point out to people, this draft box, set box era from, let's see, Zendikar Rising up through, was the last one Lost Caverns? No, it was Ravnica Remastered, had a draft box, but not a set box. So the last set box was Lost Caverns, I think. So that era, all of these draft boxes were intentionally engineered to be inferior to the set boxes. It was on purpose because they wanted you to buy set boxes, because it was less cardboard for a higher price. They could ship more of them on a pallet. Everything was more efficient about the set boxes. And so the draft boxes, we don't expect them to do that well in the long term compared to the set boxes. But when we saw a minute ago, Forgotten Realms, set boxes were closing in on 180, draft boxes on 150. It's amazing to see this finally move. I remember when this first came out and just how it cratered. It came out in the wake of Modern Horizons 2. Nobody cared about this set. It was, man, it was such a disappointment because myself and so many other people had high hopes for it, and now it's just taken literally almost 4 years for it to finally start moving. Next up, Strixhaven. Just taking a look at this to check the price. I don't expect a lot out of this. Again, we saw in the set boxes, they were only in the 120 to 130 range. So 112 for the draft boxes. Yes, this is another one where we expect a long time before much happens. And we're looking out there, even just on these basic numbers here, we're looking at 6 months of product in the market already. Not to mention what will come to market. Now, Time Spiral Remastered, another great 2021 era set, came out in between Strixhaven and Modern Horizons 2, I think, in that kind of late April, early May time slot. That's my recollection of when this came out. $288. Finally, doing something. See, a year ago, $209. And man, I got a bunch of boxes of this at one point and put them on, I think, the monthly sales list. I did a sealed sale of this, and then I put the rest on the monthly sales list, and it just took a long time to clear them out. I am going to be getting more of these this summer. There's a deal in the works, and they are coming. So we will have another sealed sale of this at some point. Guys, when all the stuff gets here later this summer, we're going to start having sealed sale every week for a while. We may even have 2 a week for a while. I don't know how much I want to push it right at first and how much I want to kind of stretch things out so the once a week sales last longer. I mean, I would love it if things are spinning up fast enough now that I could do 1 a week and then just keep it up forever. I'm not sure if I can do that yet. So, but there are more Time Spiral Remastered boxes coming, and it is great to finally see it moving. So 90 in the market today. And most of them in the last month were sold on the bonus buck sale. Only 7 were sold off the bonus buck sale in the last month. What if we look at the last 6 months? 178 boxes. So that would give us 3 months of supply in the market today based on that sell-through rate. And man, you got to go through a lot of boxes to finally get up to the $300 mark here. So you have to burn down most of the boxes in the market to get up to the $300 point. So this is another one where it may only be $12 away from that $300 price point right now, but I could still see it not hitting $300 by the end of the year. It would not surprise me. And of course, we're going to look at Dominaria Remastered, the draft boxes, $160. In the last year, they've come from $123, and man, there is a lot of supply in the market, probably close to 4 months of supply. And not any good gaps. Very close. So still going to sell pretty close. This is definitely going to lag the collector boxes of these for a long time. Of course, pulling the juiciest cards is much more difficult in the draft box. It's actually more expensive to pull them in the draft box than it is in the collector boxes. So I really don't expect these to appreciate long term the way that the collector boxes will. And play boxes, we'll go through here real quick. I really didn't open a lot of these. There is one I want to talk about, but for the most part, the market is accepting play boxes. They're doing pretty well. I think WotC has handled the transition from the set and draft box era into the play box era really well. Yes, there were some growing pains of the market accepting it at first, with murders crashing down to what, $89 at one point. Looks like 120 it's come back up to. And then they fiddled with the number of packs and reduced it down to 30 so that the headline price could fall a little bit and they could raise the overall price. You know what I mean? Like the price per pack went up while the price of the box came down when they reduced from 36 to 30. I think that was a good move. They probably needed to do some more price increases just to keep all their corporate overlords happy. And, well, it gets the overall box price a little cheaper, which I think a lot of people are okay with. You know, you open 6 fewer booster packs, but apparently the market has been okay with it because we've had several releases since then. We've had Aetherdrift and Tarkir. Foundations was still 36. Final Fantasy will be 30, and moving forward from there. So it seems like they have handled this well, and things have gone okay. Now, the one I wanted to talk about, Modern Horizons 3, if you have an Amazon business account, you can get this over there for $209 on Amazon Business. that is with a Prime credit card and with slow shipping, so you get that total 6% cash back. Their price over there will come to $209. I think there is a dealer, I think it's Flipside Gaming on eBay, has these for like $220 right now. So I just wanted to mention that there is a better deal on this, especially if you have a Prime business account. So moving on to collector boxes, where we always spend most of our time. And of course, what else to talk about first? Final Fantasy collector boxes, $790. Guys, if you're a patron of mine, I was showing you guys 8 weeks ago that these were outselling Lord of the Rings collector boxes, and my patrons and I got in at 605 8 weeks ago once we saw those data that this was going to be the new #1 best-selling Magic product ever. 32 years of Magic. This is the best-selling product ever, and we bought it 605 8 weeks ago. Now, there have been several times over the last few days when I just click over and I look at this, when you'll find somebody coming in and dumping a bunch of boxes for, well, there was somebody doing it in the 680s a couple days ago. Gosh, just selling so fast. How far you have to scroll back just to see a day or two ago? Here we go. So you see these 680s in here. So sometimes, and I have theories on why this happens. I'm not going to expound on them here, but sometimes it does happen. Somebody comes in and undercuts the market, in this case by $50, and several people got some pretty good discounts. So sometimes you can catch those, but wow, the price is sadly starting to run away, and we're in that final few days before full release, and so I expect it's only going to get crazier from here. We may see a little bit of price relief after release as the TCG expansion life cycle tries to do its thing, tries to bring the price back down, but it's just going to be highly dependent on how much it runs up beforehand. You know, if this hits $850 by next Friday, well, it doesn't really help you much if it then falls by $50 back down to $800, you know? So, man, what a crazy ride this has been, and look how shallow the market is. You can see every box for sale on your screen right now. That's how shallow this market is. Unbelievable. Just a few more boxes, and then it jumps to $845, and then it jumps to $930. Man. So maybe some more sellers will come into the market, but they're going to price these boxes dearly. Now, the Japanese box. I actually wanted to talk about this. I mentioned it really early on. Flipside Gaming was the first seller I saw who had these over on eBay several months ago. And I think these may be underpriced. There are a few examples in Magic's history where Japanese cards have done well. Very scant, but there are a few examples. And I think this is one where the crossover into Japanese language could actually be desired by some players. And so it's not like Pokemon, where the average Pokemon fan probably has about a 20% chance of also liking Japanese Pokemon. But in Magic, I would say it is much, much lower because, again, most Magic buyers are players. Most Pokemon buyers are collectors. And so that different dynamic means that a Japanese set has a lot harder time getting traction in Magic in the English language world than Japanese Pokemon does in the English language world. I think this is one of those rare sets that maybe it does well. So I'm actually considering buying a couple of these Japanese boxes and maybe trying to play on that. Spider-Man, $540. Now, I said I was going to do a video about this, but then I just actually looked at the numbers. It's only sold 61 boxes in pre-sale so far, which isn't a lot. Still 4 months until it comes out. It's not till the end of September, and we're at the beginning of June. So we've got nearly 4 whole months until this comes out. It's just, it needs to develop a little longer. Maybe about a month from now, I'll take a look at it for my patrons. In fact, I will put that on the Kanban board and do that for my patrons a month from now. But we'll see. I still expect this to do really well. I don't think this price is going to fall a ton. It could fall $100 from here before release. I could see that, but considering how the early Marvel Secret Layers have done and the absolute bonkers reception for those, I think this is going to do pretty well, even though it's the more modern Spider-Man that's less popular, the less popular version of Spider-Man. Bloomborough, 460. Man, can you remember that this is a standard expansion from 2024? And it's $460 for the collector box? It's just wild. So in the last month, 47 on the bonus bucks sale. That leaves 40 otherwise sold during the last month, which leaves about 5 weeks of product in the market. 5 weeks in the market right now. So this is easily going to be a $500 box before the end of the year. I mean, that's not even a very ballsy statement to try to make. Ravnica Remastered. So I had said last week that you should not be chasing the price spike of this upwards. It had peaked all the way around 620, and I had warned a week ago that yes, it will be falling back down because it spiked up too quick. That's going to pull a lot of boxes out of the closet all of a sudden. They're going to come onto the market and they're going to chase those prices. In fact, I said that you should even think of potentially selling into this market and then buying back in later. So here we are. We're already back down to 580, and we've had very, very scant sell through. You can see that big spike on June 2nd, and then we sold 8 and 2 and 4. So we've only sold 14 boxes since then. 29 in the market. This is still an absolute winner of a box long term. It was notoriously underprinted, and so this is going to be a really good winner product in the long term. But hey, if it finishes the year at $600, we'll still be happy, even if the price is going to go down between now and then come back up. Innistrad Remastered. I think you should be accumulating on this. I added this to the list of things to look at because I just wanted to see how long it had been bouncing around against this 250, 240 kind of boundary. And here we are at 259, 260. Yep. Okay, so we'll call it 240 to 260 range that it's been in for nearly 3 months now. So I suspect this will not break significantly lower. WotC took their boxes of this down off of Amazon a couple days ago. They disappeared off of there. I think they've come back since then. It's kind of weird. And their boxes over there are nowhere close to a deal. It's like $300 something they're asking for over there. So I do think you should be accumulating. The Edgar Markov card is still holding up in secondary market sales, the serialized card. And so I think long term, these are going to do very well. Now, as for gaps upward, no, nothing for a while. So we're just going to have to wait for the market to continue to shake out. Remember, this is not even a 6-month-old product at this point. Be patient. And Kaldheim, I swear this has come down just a tad. Yep. So it peaked up here, market of 197. It's a market of 195, but I guess it quote-unquote had a local bottom, 191. So yeah, it's been trending sideways for about 6 months now after it made, about a 50%. I think my memory is 50% increase during 2024, and now it's been flat through all of 2025. And it is not surprising. This thing is selling purely on low quantity because engineering-wise, it's one of the worst collector boxes ever created. It's up there with Theros Beyond Death in terms of just being a very, very poorly engineered box, but the supply has finally tightened up and started to make it a little bit more rare. So you should not be going out and buying tons of these because, again, the pressure to push this price upward is going to be very weak for a long time to come. Wilds of Eldraine. Man, I did a sealed sale on this a few months ago, and then I put the leftover boxes on the monthly sales list. They're still up there at a price lower than this. So if you're a patron, go check those out. Still trying to get rid of the rest of those. And it's been amazing. So this is a product from late 23. And man, $565. So it sold 10 during the bonus bucks sale, which means 13 in the rest of the month. So yeah, there's about 4 months of supply on the market right now. Wow. Possibly a $700 box by the end of the year, but it's going to start to struggle. I think it's going to hit a point where most people just say, man, that's more than I want to pay. And even though the quantity is reducing, it's not going to be enough to keep the price gains going. You know, the dynamics in this market are just so much different than Pokemon. You can look at something like Evolving Skies. You know, by the end of 2026, Evolving Skies will probably be a $3,000 box. But something like this, I don't expect the same kind of continued performance out of Magic boxes. Dominaria Remastered up to 265. So a year ago, this was 187. So it's come up $80 in the last year. Very nice. So that's about, what, 40% or so increase? And we'll gap a little bit. Wow. So it'll gap up about $20 after another dozen or so boxes. That's not too terrible. And 75 minus the 28 on the bonus buck sale. So about 45 in the last month. So we're looking at about 2.5 months of supply in the market. It's a great box. Don't underestimate it. Force of Will, Urza and his Incubator, Yawgmoth, the Tutor Cycle, Sylvan Library. So many great cards in this box. This has always been my thesis that this box cannot help but do well in the long term just because of all the great powerful cards. And Zendikar Rising. So this one's interesting because you can see it's finally moved off of how it was just bouncing here. And it had been doing that for more than just this kind of 9-month span here. It had been doing it for a lot longer than that. It had been trapped around this low 200 range. And finally it's jumped off of that in about the last 2 months. And it's up to, well, 255 is the lowest ask today. So I don't know what the reason for that is. If, yeah, really it hasn't tightened up that much on the supply when there's still 130 boxes in the market. And this is a late 2020 product. So still a lot of supply out there, but finally it started to see a little bit of rise. It will probably not make 300 by the end of the year, I'm sad to say. Brothers War, another one that's just taken off recently. For so long, I was selling these to patrons for $205 for quite a long time. I finally sold out at that price. I still had my long-term stash, but eventually I'll get around to doing another sealed sale of these. I have some factory sealed master cases coming later this year, so we'll do another sealed sale at some point, and you can buy a factory sealed master case if you like. $274. A year ago, they were $200. Nice. So about a 37% increase in the last 12 months. And we'll probably pretty easily make 300 before the end of the year. Looks like good chance on this one. And Kamigawa 280. It's been bouncing around a little bit. Okay, yeah, a little bit. So it hit up here close to 300, turned around down to about 280. 129 in the market. This box's history has just been so ridiculous, so long and turbulent. And it's hard to guess what will happen long term with this. I think that this will probably have trouble climbing after it gets over about 300. It'll probably just take a very, very slow turn after that. It'll be an old enough product, and the one real chase card out of it just won't be that desired anymore. And so I think that this will probably slow down in its ascent. Now Outlaws up to 225. Where did this bottom at? Like 180? Yeah, 183 on the market price. It bottomed. And now it's up to 225. So come up about $50 nearly. And 230 is within sight. So yeah, this is done. Well, it's recovered better than I thought. Of course, the Curse of the Hat sets is real. And this is a 15-month-old product at this point, 14, 15 months old. So it certainly has taken a while to gain any traction. But if you bought them in the 180s and 190s, then hey, you're already doing pretty good. Double Masters 2022. Oh man. So many times this has tried to reclaim its release week price. Just look at that. Just look. It bounced all the way up here to 281 market and then got push all the way back down to 245, and here we are again, 265 market. So it has been a long, tough road for this. Of course, this was the first time they said, hey, let's give everybody 4 booster packs for the price of 12. And not even the price of 12, higher than the price of 12. And the market utterly rejected it. It was 2022. The attitudes were terrible. It was the wrong time. It was too expensive of a product. So many things wrong, and it has just taken years and years to recover on this. Man, I have, yeah, I have a lot of boxes of this. Let's leave it at that. And might we hit 300? I would love to hit 300 on this, but wow, we have to go down a lot of boxes. There's 300 right there. And we probably got about 30, 35 boxes. Move 33 on the bonus bucks sale. So yeah, it's moving about 2 boxes a day. Well, maybe another month or two. 2 or 3 more realistically once everybody keeps undercutting each other and normal stuff. Probably 2 or 3 months we might see 300 a box on this finally. Remember, it was $280 in its release week in 2022. And it's still not even managed to keep that price again. So it touched it a few months ago and then it dropped back down. March of the Machine. So I've mentioned a couple times on this. This was one of the ones I recommended to my patrons to buy on the bonus bucks sale back on May 16th, because as we were going into the bonus bucks sale, this had the lowest market depth of any collector box. It had a mere 2 weeks of market depth at the time. Of course, the bonus bucks sale did pull some additional product out onto the market. 64 boxes out there today, and we sold 26 on the bonus bucks sale, so that was about 35 otherwise. So today it's got close to 7 weeks of supply on the market. It was 2 beforehand. And what's interesting, as I was looking at this about a week ago, and the prices were $317, and then now a bunch of people have come in and dropped the price another $10. I still think you should be buying this. This is going to dry up faster than people expect. There just aren't that many boxes of it left. 64 on the market. And this was 2023. So at the beginning of 23, we had Phyrexia, Dominaria Remastered. And then this. Is my memory correct? I always get the years mixed up on it. Let's see. DU, Brothers War, Phyrexia, March of the Machines. Yeah, so I'm in the right year. So yeah, this was after WotC had already fixed their collector box problems. And that's something people need to keep in mind. This is in the modern era of collector boxes, starting at Phyrexia, where WotC finally fixed the print runs, fixed the engineering of the boxes, and so this would not surprise me if it goes a lot higher in the coming year. I still think this is something you should be accumulating. Lost Caverns of Ixalan. So the quote-unquote eternal dump. And of course, WotC has been heavily dumping this on Amazon for a long time. And we can see all the way back here, August of last year. This is when they really started, and it was at a market price of $345, and they eventually crushed that price all the way down to $313, and they kept dumping. It's been at a dump price, even as the market price on TCG Player has taken this leg up in the last few months, but just in the last couple days, it's disappeared off of Amazon. So the Amazon dumps of this may finally be done. Finally. After 10 months of dumping this consistently below market price. So if they are actually done on Amazon, this could just go on an unholy tear in the coming months. Let's see. Oh, man. Okay, so we are at 400 today. And here's 428. Here's 440. Here's 450. Here's 465. Here's 515, and then we're running out of boxes? My goodness. 39 boxes in the market. And where is the 16th? That was the bonus buck sale. So 40 boxes in the last month, and there are 39 in the market. So once we subtract out the bonus buck sale, we have less than a month of supply of this product in the market today. And in the last couple days, WotC has finally taken it down off of Amazon. Now, there's no telling. Maybe they'll put it back up next week. Maybe it'll come right back and they'll start dumping it again. But if it does not, then man, this is poised to just go absolutely haywire in the coming months. Assassin's Creed, this is another one I think you should be accumulating. The prices fluctuated around. It's been available on Amazon, but not at dump prices. WotC is a lot more prudent with the dump pricing on Amazon of Universes Beyond. They stay away from dumping that too much. Now, back in the Lord of the Rings era, yeah, they did the famous pre-dump of the Lord of the Rings gift bundles, selling them below wholesale on pre-sale on Amazon. Yeah, they've done some stuff like that in the past. But more recently, they protect their Universes Beyond properties from just the outright incredible dumps that they do on a lot of their other products. So this has been available, but it's been close to actually $280 is what it's been on Amazon after you take your Prime discount and the slow shipping discount. Lots of these boxes backed up here below $300. Let's see, what's the 151 in the market, which is going to be a little more than 3 months of supply. So there's still some decent amount before it starts going up. Duskmorn, 308. Has this come down? I thought this was higher. No, it's just been bouncing around low 300s here. Okay. Bouncing around low 300s for quite a while. 65 in the market. And taking out the bonus buck sale, yeah, there's about 2 months of supply in the market of Duskmorn. The almost a hat set. It kind of gets labeled with it, even though it isn't fully a hat set. I wonder if I opened Edge of Eternity's pre-sales on here. I don't think I did. Let's see. Let me go back to page 1. I'll talk about this very briefly. Edge of Eternities. So Edge of Eternities, it is a helmet set, not a hat set, because they all wear space helmets. Coming out August 1st, so we have a little less than 2 months. I really don't expect these prices to hold. I think once stores start getting allocations, the prices of these will come down a lot. I am not planning to pre-order at this price, even to hedge against being wrong, because again, this is a standard hat set. I expect it to do poorly post-release, and so I am going to take the risk of missing out, and I am going to not pre-order it, and I'm going to wait for it to crash. Now, what does the crash look like? Well, that's relative to what the price is on release day. If it manages to hold $250 on release day, then a crash may look like $220, which in all historical context would still be a pretty good standard collector box price. But maybe it's down to $200 on release day and it looks more like Murders and Outlaws and Aetherdrift, and it sinks down into the 180s afterwards. We'll have to see, but I am going to risk missing out on this one in order to not pre-order it at these prices. So that is my official stance as of now. Doctor Who 333. I feel like these have been sideways for a while. I guess not. Yeah, the horizontal range is not really that small on this axis. So yeah, these have been coming up a little bit. I have several cases of this. I've been wanting to do a sale on it. Maybe I'll do that this week. We have sealed sale number 19 coming this Thursday for my patrons. Join the Patreon if you want in on those. Buying 1 box a month pays for your patron membership. But I don't know what I'm going to sell yet. I have an idea. It might also be this. I'll have to take a look and decide what I want to sell. And this gaps up into the 350s pretty quickly. Not too many boxes, but yeah, the sell-through rate is just very low. 19. Wow. So it sold 20 in the last month when you take out the bonus buck sale. So there's 2.5 months of product in the market right now. Commander Legends. Yes, I love these boxes. Back when I was buying them, I believe for 141 and opening them for singles and making something like $85 per box on average after fees. It was amazing. It was such a great time. Again, this 2022 era of products, everybody was so negative. Everybody was so illogically negative about the products. And yet, Commander Legends, this one, had such great cards in it that everybody wanted. And so, man, the opportunity back in 22 and 23 and into early 24 to break these boxes, there was so much inverted EV in them. I can't wait till we get back to that kind of market. And it's a very slow grind up to 300. Lots of boxes, lots in the market. But wait, it sold 120? 36. Oh boy. So it sold 2 a day? 2.5 a day? Even outside of the bonus bucks sell, it sold 2.5 a day in the last month. Wow. So that's 75 a month. And so that's about 2.5 months of product in the market. Man. This is another one, though, where I could see it still being right around $300 by the end of this year. Strixhaven, always love to come just take a look at this. I managed to get some more of these in a private deal recently. I was very happy. And it was 4 or 5 additional boxes, and I only had 4 or 5 to start with. So it was really nice to get those extra boxes. I was really excited for that. So what's this come out to? 337. 49 in the market, but the sell-through rate's going to be pretty low. Yep, 18 a month. So you're looking at 2.5 months in the market. Very unique cards in these boxes. Core 21, this is suddenly blasted off. You can see it right there in the last few months. Let's see what it looks like over the whole last year. 215 a year ago and market price of 251 today, so a $35 increase. Yeah, it's only about 17% or so. Only 17% or so. If we got 17% in the stock market for a year, like, we'd go out for dinner. $280 today. It's interesting to see these suddenly come up. Lord of the Rings Special Edition. So apparently we're going to get a Final Fantasy Special Edition later this year, collector box. We'll see how that goes. This is something interesting. I've been noticing how slow the price movement has gotten on this product as it's gotten up here into the 16, 17, 1800 range. And then it just kind of gets stuck here. You can see it was 1660 6 months ago, and today it's 1715. So it's only moved $50 in the last 6 months. In fact, if we go back, further, we see that first time it bounced up to about 1600 all of a sudden. And then it's been pretty sideways for 6 months. And we've got a decent number of boxes until we get to 2000. The sell-through rate on this is going to be absolutely anemic. No, that's not the bonus bucks sale. The bonus bucks sale, 1 sold. So, yeah, so 10 boxes a month, and there's 28 in the market. But man, when you get this far out there on the price curve, your elasticity of demand just shrinks to almost nothing. So people become more and more and more price conscious as the price goes up. So I would expect, I would be shocked if we see much over 2,000 by the end of the year. Again, almost 7 whole months to go until the end of the year, but the price appreciation is really going to slow down. And we've seen the same thing here too. Yeah, we were at $727 and then we've moved up $200 in the last 3 months. Okay, that's a little better than what my memory was. 54 in the market. Yeah, so we still have several months of supply in the market. Phyrexia, this has taken a couple of interesting jumps in the last year. We had this one here, so it jumped from about 240 to 350 over the course of a couple weeks. And then it took a jump from about 330 to 460 in a couple of weeks. That's been very interesting. If you patrons are interested, let me know. I can run another sealed sale on this. I still have some. Enough to make another sealed sale. But 500 and then it jumps to 600 pretty soon. And foundations. I've also considered doing a sealed sale on this. I did one when it first came out and it had jumped like $100 right after release. I gave a nice discount to my patrons. Sold a lot of boxes of it. I've considered doing a second sealed sale on it now that we're about 9 months post-release. $239. Wow. And it had jumped all the way to $289 and it's come back down. Very interesting. Very unusual to see that kind of drop at that point in the life of a product. At this point here, where it's already a 5 or 6 month old product, and then all of a sudden it drops that much, that's very unusual. Maybe there's a lot of stores just trying to sell and free up money for Final Fantasy. Who knows? 450s, 470s, 490s. Yeah, may make it back by the end of the year. If we're really lucky, we'll see 500 by the end of the year on this product. And Commander Masters. It's another one where I just kind of remember it being sideways for a long time. Okay, sideways for a long time with then one giant leg upwards. So about a 16% increase over the last 6 months to 283. And not that many boxes until 300. Wow, that's sell-through rate. So if we take off the bonus box sale, it's selling 3 a day. 3 a day? My goodness. That means there's less than a month of supply on the market right now. Selling 3 a day. That is wild. Okay, Flesh and Blood. There's a couple of these that I just want to take a walk through real quick. We're not going to cover them all. I wanted to get these last 3 modern releases because this is when the prices of the newly released modern boxes have been spiking up a lot. I had made some comments about potential reprinting and what I would expect to see from it. So we peaked here at 127, and then today we are back down to a market price of 115, a lowest ask of 113. So it has given us a little bit of relief, about $15. We're getting back to that point. My guess, or my reading of the situation, is that LSS would probably want to be very prudent in its reprinting and slowly meter it out to the market and try to get the price back down to somewhere between about $80 and $100 for a box, because that would still be higher than historical prices. It would allow LSS to do a price increase, which they probably need to do, and then it would also keep the product kind of hot, which you also want to do. You don't want the product to just crash to the floor and then nobody to care about it. So few boxes until we're back into the 120s. So hopefully there's some reprinting happened even potentially, and they can get it out to the market and get those prices back a little bit below $100 is probably where they need to be. The Hunted was the next set afterwards, and 150, and straight up 150 is too high. It's too much. It is higher than what LSS should want this product to be. It's unhealthy high for the second most recent modern expansion of Flesh and Blood to cost, because historically this is twice as expensive as what they have been. And so this is where they definitely need to get some more product into the distribution system and get these prices back down to that $80 to $100 range. Now, who knows, maybe LSS has their own ideas, and of course they have better data than I do. But, you know, maybe they're looking at it and they're thinking 90 to 110 USD is where it should be, you know. But it's just my idea, around 80 to 100, because that would allow for a little bit of price increases. It would allow to keep the product still kind of talked about, kind of hot, and let it appreciate a little bit as the player base has continued to grow. And High Seas, the most recent one from just a week or two ago, this released, and we see the TCG expansion life cycle, yes, turning that price downwards as the initial hype just barely begins to fade. But $142, again, this is kind of an unhealthy high price for the game. It's a little too high, too soon. And remember, these boxes are smaller than Magic boxes. So they're 15 card packs, but there's only 24 in a box instead of most Magic boxes have 30 now. So they're a little smaller and they're a little too expensive. Now, going back to a couple of the early boxes, Welcome to Wraith, Unlimited, $75. And what I'm interested in here is sell-through rates. If we take off the bonus bucks sale of 3, then we still have 5 months. Yeah, 5 months of product in the market. Still quite a lot. And what has this done price-wise over the last year? It's gone from 67 market to 78 market. So a mere $11, but 16% increase in the last year. Arcane Rising, yeah, this has come down. It was in the high 120s, and now it's showing a market of 123 and a lowest ask of 120. And oof, very sparse sell-through rate. Last year, it's moved 144 boxes, but that just means it has more than 6 months of supply in the market right now. And Crucible of War Unlimited, the lowest printing of the three, 85 today. And a year ago, it was 68. So again, not even $20 of appreciation over the last year. Still taking time to burn through that 2021 era inventory. $109. Sorry, 109 boxes sold in the last year, 46 in the market. So we're looking at somewhere around 5 months of supply in the market right now. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Arrow, we're going to take a look at a couple of these, the ones that I kind of consider my bellwether for the current Scarlet and Violet Arrow market and the kind of crazy state it's been in for about 8 months now. So Twilight Masquerade SV06, I always incorrectly call this SV07. SV06, 268, so it is absolutely shrugged off the reprints. See? So we have this peak here before the reprints and a little trough, and then now it's just steadily been going back up. So it has completely absorbed the reprints and started to march back up. So now I don't feel nearly so bad having hedged a few boxes in the 220s and 230s. Surging Sparks, now it's been on the way down. See, that's very interesting. So it got those reprints about the same time here, February, late February, early March, and its price has been pretty consistently downwards since then, down to 228. It's wild. You know, who could have seen that Surging Sparks would not be the one that would eat all the reprints, not skip a beat, and keep going up? How could you assume that? You know, I would have thought Surging Sparks would have been the better performer, not Twilight Masquerade. And yet we see the opposite, and that's why I was hedging my bets, buying a few boxes very slowly into these things in case the lifetime window gets too worn out before the reprints eventually catch up. I still think the S&V market is going to break at some point. Just watching the hilarious and awful videos of people acting badly to get Pokemon cards. People will not put up with that kind of situation forever before they lose interest and they get discouraged, they move on to something else, and then the Pokemon company necessarily overshoots with the reprints. They will always overshoot with the reprints. It is inevitable. And so when those two events intersect, then suddenly you're going to have more product in the market than you can handle, and the prices will start to come down in earnest. I still know it will happen. When it will happen is the question. And so as we see Twilight Masquerade getting back up close to 270, yeah, that's a little while, but we're still just going to have to wait longer for those events to play out. And Journey Together, the Enhanced Box, 205. Somebody tell me why the Enhanced Box is consistently about $10 less than the regular box. They still have 36 packs, and it's got this one little like silly box topper promo thing. And yet, for some reason, it's like $10 less. I don't understand. And the data are all messed up on TCG Player's side. Okay, so not a lot to see. The price, okay, if we take it on the 6-month plot, the price has consistently come down, and we're at 205. So this is a price where it doesn't feel terrible to start buying a little more in earnest. And lastly, Sword and Shield Arrow. We're going to take a look at a couple of these. Of course, Evolving Skies. And man, I saw some incredible cope in the comments of, golly, I don't even remember whose video it was. It was not mine, it was someone else's, but saying that, oh, just wait, Evolving Skies will crash down to $1,000 a box. It was unbelievable cope. If this came down to $1,000 a box, do you know how fast the market would get wiped out? Just the fact that Moonbreon is still such a highly sought after card would prevent, like, if these were $1,000 a box, it would make sense to buy every one of them and open them up for Moonbreons to grade. So no, it will not be crashing to $1,000 a box. In fact, we could really easily see 2,000 by the end of the year, and like I commented earlier in this video, 3,000 by the end of next year would not terribly surprise me. So let's see. Lots of people offering booster pack lots and other language products. And there's still a number of boxes before we get to 2,000. What's the sell-through rate, Ben? I wonder if the sell-through rate includes all those other not booster box products. So only one on the bonus box sale. Otherwise, 30. So one a day. Okay, so if we go and we look in here and we look at, yeah, I guess it's including all those other weird products, Korean language and sleeved booster packs and everything else. I tried a couple times to see if any patrons wanted to buy 36 loose boosters of this, pulled by me from EX boxes and V boxes and tins, and I never got any interest from anyone, so I'm still holding all the booster packs that I bought at $2.50 to $3 each. So someday I'll start moving them. Fusion Strike, $740. Man, look at the tear that went on. All of a sudden, from $485 to $790 market, all of a sudden, a almost 75% increase. My goodness. What a time. What a time. And there was an age, I always talk about it, but there was a time in late 21 and early 22 when card stores were being forced to take this product if they wanted any other Pokemon products. They were forced to take cases upon cases of this to get a few boxes of Brilliant Stars. How things change. Printed to oblivion does not last forever. Chilling Rain, another great one from that era, 423. And a bit of a tear. Yeah, 317 back here a few months ago. So it's gone up $100 in about the last 2 months. Where are all those closets full of boxes ready to come out and just stamp down the price? I've been told by experts that closets are just full of these boxes. And so we won't see price appreciation like we have in the past. And yet here we are. $100 increase in the last 2 months. Ask those people if all those closets of boxes exist, ready to come out and crush the prices. Where are they? Why aren't they crushing the prices? When will they crush the prices? For some reason, it's just not happening. Of course, personally, I believe that's because all the closets of boxes do not in fact exist. Everybody likes to vastly overestimate the number of people holding boxes sealed and the number of boxes that those people hold. So I do not think there are huge closets chock full of these ready to one day crush these prices back down to wholesale. It will never happen. Brilliant Stars, 405. And another one just went on a tear in the last month and a half from $300 up to $430. Man. When you have scarce collectibles that people destroy for fun and the inventory of them left in the world starts to shrink way too small, the price must continue to rise. Down near the end now, Lost Origins, $510. And this from $390 a couple months ago to $530, and then it's pulled back about $20. Wow. Just amazing to see how this is done in the 2.5 years since we ended the Sword and Shield era. There are no Sword and Shield era boxes left below $200. Even Battle Styles and Vivid Voltage are above $200 now. Vivid Voltage, $212. And where was this a year ago? A year ago, you could still get this on Pokemon Center. $134, and today, $207. So, golly, that's more than a 50% increase in the last 12 months. Good number of boxes before it makes much of a move upward. So I wouldn't expect much in the way of gaps upward on that. And Battle Styles. Good thing I opened this. I didn't remember that I had opened it. 207, the absolute worst performing booster box from the Sword and Shield era, still beats the S&P 500. 1 year ago, 138, and today a market price of 207. So again, more than a 50% increase in the last year. All right, guys, so that is the market walk for this month. I do this once a month just to kind of put my thoughts onto a video to let everybody come along with me. You know, I kind of look at the market a little bit every day, sometimes a couple times a day, some products more often than others. Mostly I find Magic collector boxes are really the blue chip product. They're the exciting product. They're the product that can move very easily with very little stress. And so a lot of my energy is put towards that. Now, Pokemon booster boxes long term make much bigger moves and much better returns on the long term. But when you're running a business like Final Trade, you're buying collections from people, you're making deals with whales and other investors, then sometimes you just need to deal a lot more in the Magic collector boxes because those are going to move and turn your money around a lot more quickly. So, you know, I take looks at these things all the time. But once a month, I like to make this video, bring you guys along, and just kind of give you an insight into what I look at, how I think about this stuff, and how my thoughts on various products are changing over time. So look, patrons, go check out the monthly sales list. I added some more stuff to that in the last week. Helped somebody out who was looking to move a little bit of product, picked it up off of them, and just turned it right up there onto the monthly sales list. So a couple extra things labeled as added mid-month. Other great products below market price up there. Sealed sale number 19 is coming this Thursday. I have 2 candidate items in my head I have not chosen yet. Probably I will choose sometime either tonight or tomorrow morning, and I will publish a video about that on Monday. Let me know what you think, guys. Thanks to everyone who makes this content possible, especially my very generous supporters on Patreon. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and join me on Final Trade.